Now home to the Majestic, the historic James Fitzpatrick Saloon building was completed in 1911 and later became one of many entertainment venues in the downtown area that were connected to the Pendergast Political Machine. Today, the building is a landmark institution that shares the history of Kansas City jazz, as the building once hosted musicians from Count Basie to Charlie Parker. I'm David Trowbridge, a historian at UMKC and the creator of Clio, and today I'm with Nicholas Bowden. He's going to tell us a little bit about the history of the building.
Good afternoon. I am the general manager here at the Majestic restaurant. This building opened in 1911. It originated as the Fitzpatrick Saloon. The bar operated for a few years before Prohibition. The second floor was a brothel. The top floor of the building was Fitzpatrick's apartment. The front stoop is original to the building. In the tile, it does say Fitzpatrick. The tile on the main floor and the Preston ceiling are original to the space. The bar itself is an 1890s Brunswick bar from New Orleans. Legend has it when Tom Pendergast held stakes in this building, he had offices on that second floor. And the Fitzpatrick apartment was allegedly used as Pendergast's mistress's apartment.
Now, in this same era, when Prohibition became the law of the land, this place continued to operate as a saloon.
Yeah, the Fitzpatrick Saloon became a haberdashery, which is a perfect front to have a speakeasy in the basement. The speakeasy was only able to be accessed from the Opera House across the street. Spiral staircase led to the basement and the Opera House, quick turns, and you were at a tunnel opening that went under the road and came in through the boiler room, which now is kind of the ends for the whole building. So electricity, water, gas. There's a little closet in the men's restroom. And if you look to your right, you actually see some drywall and framing now. But when I worked here years ago, that didn't exist. And you used to be able to kind of shimmy down about 10 feet, and then it opens up into a big room. And in the back right corner was the tunnel.
So, Nicholas, one of the things that really strikes me every time I go and do one of these interviews in a historic building in Kansas City is how close we might have been to losing this history when you look at some of the more recent buildings next door, like the Jimmy John's. When I think about the history of this building, you've got the connection to the jazz era with everything from Charlie Parker to the Pendergast Machine. When you take a wider view, it reflects the growth of our city from the early 1900s, when that growth was really centered on this downtown district, to the modern era, which has seen such a resurgence and a return of businesses and residential spaces to the urban core. Tell me a little bit about the history of the restaurant, the Majestic, and how it came to be located in this building, as well as some of the other features of the building and some of the legendary stories.
The building was vacant for a period of time, and then in the 1980s it had been renovated, and this restaurant, which actually existed from 1960 to 1980 in a different location, moved into this building and has continually operated as a live music restaurant. You know, people come here to dine and have a full dining experience, but to be able to do it in front of three-piece jazz bands in the jazz club and have live piano playing on the main floor, just a really special thing.
So now we're on the third floor, which used to be James Fitzpatrick's apartment and allegedly was used by Pendergast. Now it is a club and entertainment space. Is that right?
Yeah, one side is the boardroom, and that table was actually craned into the boardroom in the late 90s. They had to take all the windows out because it's definitely not an IKEA table, and it did not come up the stairs. The other side of the space is the game room. The interior, the central part of the lounge, you have what is clearly a kitchen with a living room and a dining room, and now it's full of rare whiskeys and scotches. In the living room and dining room, you've got couches and recliners and chairs and just a place you can go and relax after work and have a cigar and have a scotch and enjoy yourself, or have a private event, whether that's a work event or a special occasion. It's the only place in town that has the license to do all three. So liquor by the drink, smoking inside and buying food from the establishment. We're the only one that is allowed to do all three, and the city's not giving those licenses out anymore. We're grandfathered in. We're not giving it up.
Now, I'm an academic historian, but I can't resist. Tell me about the Lady in Red.
Talking about ghosts and haunted stories. I haven't personally seen anything, but I can tell you the stories that I've been told by people that I've worked with that have seen it firsthand. So the Lady in Red. So she was allegedly killed during Prohibition by the mob. She was allegedly thrown out of the third story, and she died on the sidewalk. So she's lived in the building for a very long time. I have a friend who used to work here, and one night they turned the lights off all down here, and he had forgot his backpack. It was over at the server station, and so when he came back to the door, she was sitting at the piano in her red dress playing the piano, and he swore he would never come in this space again in the dark. It sent shivers down his spine. We've had mediums come in and ghost hunters and all that stuff. And then during COVID, the building was empty. There really wasn't anyone here except for the former executive chef. And she was here alone a lot. And she would hear from the walk-in, which is a good 30 feet away from here and around a corner and behind a door, she would constantly hear the piano playing itself. There were moments that the pictures were coming off the wall. There was stuff in the kitchen that was falling off the shelf, and the only thing they could liken it to was that live music had been played in this building for so many years. And, whether you want to believe it or not, the spirits were just lonely and missed the music.
So we're in the basement right now, and in front of us is a small stage and musical equipment. Can you tell me a little bit about some of the great musicians who have performed here over the last century?
Yeah, Bram Winans. He played here for over 25 years. I've never seen this ever in my life, but he's one of the only people, and may be the only person in the city that still manually tunes pianos. I've never really met a live performer like him. He actually just helped us acquire the piano on the main floor, and it's a 1950s German piano. It replaced the 1910s saloon piano that had just been played so much. Lonnie McFadden's played here. All the greats, all the Kansas City great jazz musicians have had a turn here at a time or two.
People like Lonnie McFadden, of course, his club is called Lonnie's Reno Club, which is a tribute to the old Reno Club, where some of the greats, Count Basie, Charlie Bird Parker, played. And, of course, those people have also played here.
Yeah, correct. And I actually opened Lonnie's Reno Club. I was at the Ambassador Hotel before, during, and after COVID. And the whole story behind Lonnie's Reno Club is a really lovely story in and of itself also. So the first week back from COVID was crazy dead. I mean, no one was traveling. No one was going to a hotel, for that matter, to dine. So the food and beverage director thought, well, why not use the carport next to the hotel? We don't have any guests staying. Let's put up rope lights and lay down large format carpets and get couches out and high top tables and put linens down. And, it's outdoors. And Lonnie was like, this is great. I have nothing to do. You're the first music venue reopening. And then they went out and sought out Alexander Austin, who is one of the large format muralists of the city that has painted a lot of the side of buildings. And he came and did live paintings during Lonnie's shows, which was really fascinating. He did a lot of different stuff, but some of the ones that were more interesting, Patrick Mahomes, he did one of actual Lonnie McFadden, all different types of stuff. And just really cool to see that evolve over a 3-hour period. And so the first night we sold 90 seats a week after COVID. And that was pretty much the norm for the next 5 months. And then November came and it was finally too cold. And the owner of the hotel went to Lonnie's and he said, I don't want this to stop. He said, I think I'm going to convert our smaller event space in the basement to your club. And, what do you want to call it? And he's like, the Reno room, my dad played there with the Chocolate Drops, Lonnie's father's group. And, it just means so much to me. And the way that Lonnie runs his show is so unique. There's really nothing else in it in town.
So my last question, and I can already feel what the answer might be. As you're talking about this place, I can feel your passion for the history and the memories you've made here. What does this place mean to you?
You know, it kind of reminds me, not too long ago, I did an interview with the University of Arkansas. And in closing, they said, if you could change any one thing about this building, what would it be? My answer then is going to be similar to my answer now, and that is nothing. I mean, what is this place to me? So it's yesteryear. This is blast from the past. There's nothing else like this in the city. It's old school meets new school. It's knowing when it's a birthday or it's a special occasion or it's a retirement and, little touches, roses for anniversaries and happy birthday on a plate, happy anniversary on a plate. Just little overall free things that make people feel really great. But then also leaning into our history and what this place is and what it's always going to be, which is dinner and a show. Kansas City does three things really well: beef, barbecue, and jazz. And I've always said we do two of those really well here: beef, jazz. And so, yeah, wouldn't change anything, and it means everything to me.